Hey guys, thank you all for coming. My name is Murtaza. I am a high school rising senior in California. One interesting thing about me is that I'm into business.
Hi guys, my name is Mia. I am a rising high school senior based out of North Carolina in the Triangle area, if any of you know where that is. If you don't, that's okay. Most people don't. And I am someone who's really passionate about the arts.
Hi, my name is Ian. I'm also a rising senior located in the Bay Area in California, and I'm interested in science, theater, and reading.
Hi, my name is Leah. I'm a high school rising junior from the Bay Area, and I am passionate about dance.
And we're all high schoolers from Ascent Services, an organization meant to help you guys make the transition to high school as easily and smoothly as possible. Today, we'll be presenting our webinar, Making an Impact in High School, Volunteering and More. We'll be having a question and answer period after each section. So if you have any questions, just put them in the chat, or you can wait till the end of each section where you can ask them out loud. Yeah, and without further ado, let's get right into the webinar.
Hi guys, so to start off this webinar, I will be going over all you need to know about high school service clubs, including advice, examples, and what to expect this upcoming year. So every high school service club has a list of events you can volunteer at each month. There are only a certain number of slots available per event, so I recommend you sign up as soon as possible. After each event you attend, you will gain a given number of volunteering hours, which will normally be tracked by a club officer. In order to receive credit for volunteering, you may need to take a picture of yourself or check in with an officer of the club that is also at that event. You should definitely volunteer with friends because a lot of the events are 2 to 4 hours, so you'll want someone to talk to and pass the time. I want to emphasize that service clubs are very popular at school because this is one of the easiest ways to get volunteering hours. Therefore, it will be more challenging to gain a leadership position. If you really want to be an officer for a service club, I recommend joining as many as you can freshman or sophomore year and staying active in each club. You can do this by participating in multiple volunteering events and getting to know the students that are already officers. You can also talk with the officers of the club by staying after the meeting to ask questions or attend the social events outside of school. This way, they'll already know who you are when the time comes for them to interview potential officers for the next school year. Here is a list of examples and ideas for service clubs that you can join or even start at your school. These well-known clubs are part of larger organizations and generally provide more volunteering opportunities. Key Club is the largest student-led program for high school students and provides many leadership roles even outside of school. American Red Cross Club offers many events that revolve around emergency assistance, disaster relief, and the club even teaches life-saving skills. CSF, which stands for California Scholarship Federation, is a statewide academic honors organization which provides multiple volunteering events and recognizes students who have demonstrated outstanding academic achievement. CSF is for California high school residents only, and you need to apply and maintain a certain GPA in order to be a member of this club. Other states may have an organization similar to CSF, so if you live outside of California, make sure to do your research. However, you don't need to be just part of well-known service clubs. In fact, smaller service clubs are easier to get a leadership position and offer specific volunteering events that revolve around just one issue in your community. A list of clubs you can join or start include Climate Change Initiative Club, Animal Welfare Club, and Cancer Society Club. So a group of service clubs that will probably be at your school are National Honor Societies. Now, these are very well known by college admissions officers and show that you are high achieving in community service, academics, and leadership. To become a member of a National Honor Society, you need to submit an application that asks for background information about yourself, short answer, and even essays. But as long as you complete the form and turn it in on time, you will likely get in. In order to stay a member of a National Honor Society, you need to maintain a certain GPA in school and meet a required number of hours by the end of the semester or by the end of the school year. It varies between schools and honor societies, so check to see the requirements on the club's website or social media page. If you are an incoming freshman, you may not be eligible for certain National Honor Societies until later in your second semester, or not until sophomore year. But like I said before, make sure to do your research on different honor societies at your school to check the eligibility requirements. Something special about National Honor Societies is that they offer an additional leadership position in September or October called the junior officer. Keep in mind that not all schools offer this position for their club, but if they do, this person basically helps out the other officers when needed and either researches events, provides input, or does minor jobs for the club. This is an excellent role to gain if it is your first year joining a National Honor Society, and I highly recommend applying for this position. You will probably need to answer more essay questions and go through an interview process if you choose to apply. Here is a list of National Honor Societies that may be available at your school. There are academic-related ones where the activities and volunteering events may be more related to a specific subject like science or math. There are also language National Honor Societies which revolve around different ethnicities like Spanish, French, Japanese, or Chinese. This is a great way to become familiar with a culture outside of your typical language class. There's also Art NHS, where you can share your artistic abilities with others that have the same passion as you. And lastly, there is just the National Honor Society, which participates in a variety of volunteering events and is usually one of the largest clubs on campus. If you want to take initiative and show you're a self-starter, you can actually start your own service club on campus. You can do this as early as your freshman year, and I think it's never too late to start one. So some advice I have for you all for starting a service club is that you should identify a problem in your community. Whether it's climate change or racial injustice, just think of an issue that you want to solve and will have a positive impact on yourself and others. Second, you should research volunteering opportunities at local facilities that relate to your club. For example, if you start an animal welfare club, you should research volunteering events at local animal shelters or pet clinics. Lastly, recruit students who have the same goals and priorities as you. You can't start a club on your own. Choose people you can rely on to be officers of the club, including secretary, treasurer, and activities directors. Get the word out of your new service club by telling your friends to come to the meetings and make social media accounts in order to spread awareness to potential members. Although starting a service club is a great goal to achieve, I strongly advise you all to think about the service clubs that are already established at your school. Some schools probably have 5 or more service clubs already existing on campus, so students will not likely want to join another one that isn't well funded or just starting out. If you really want to form a service club, it should definitely revolve around an original problem in your school and offer numerous volunteering events for people to sign up for. So because of this pandemic, club meetings will obviously be different compared to any other year. Clubs will likely host meetings through online platforms like Zoom or Google Meet to ensure the safety of their members. In addition, volunteering events will likely be virtual because many public facilities may be closed during these upcoming months. In order to get updates from service clubs at your school, I recommend following them on Instagram, social media, or other social media platforms, and check out their website on a weekly basis. Any questions? Feel free to turn on your mic to ask or type them in the chat. Okay, seems there's no questions, so let's move on to our next topic from Yin.
Thank you, Leah. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about volunteering outside of school. So Leah has already talked about the importance of volunteering in school, but volunteering beyond school is also important. Unlike service clubs, eyes to a world with bigger and more possibilities, as well as more chances to participate in services that you're passionate about. Having a deep interest is very important when volunteering. Passion helps build up that motivation that keeps you deeply engaged and involved in the organization that you're volunteering for. That can lead to more engaging experiences that you can talk about in your college applications and essays, as well as a more well-balanced and rich recommendation from your supervisor. By volunteering beyond service clubs and schools, you also gain some awards from volunteering, such as the Presidential Volunteer Service Award, also known as PVSA, which is a nationwide award given to people who volunteer a certain number of hours dependent on your age group in an outside nonprofit. This can also help you build connections outside of school, form bonds within your own community, and develop a network that spans beyond your vicinity. In the future, this networking can become really handy when discovering information related to schoolwork or even college. So during the school year, time management will be key in balancing schoolwork and volunteering. As high schoolers, you will have many school-related deadlines and homework that's due every day on top of taking notes and studying for tests. Sometimes volunteering every day is simply not possible. That's why time management is extremely important in helping you open up a time in which you can volunteer. If you want to volunteer after school, pick less exhausting and work-heavy volunteering opportunities. These opportunities would most likely be shorter in time, leaving you plenty of time to finish any schoolwork or homework. Such opportunities can be found through community organizations such as Girl Scouts or YMCA, where they would already have after-school opportunities for you to do. You can also check in with your elementary or middle school or any other local schools, libraries, churches, or community centers if they have any tutoring or youth-related opportunities available. If all of this is still too time-consuming, though, you can still try volunteering by gathering up your friends and doing something like writing letters to local hospitals or veterans. Just make sure to check in with the organization you're trying to help with first. Now, weekends are better for more engaging volunteering opportunities that require more involvement, like setting up a fair or handing out and installing supplies at further places. These opportunities can be found at your local Red Cross chapter, food bank, humane society, etc. You can also check out any volunteering opportunities at your local organizations near you, or look up any upcoming events. While they might only occur once a year or less, volunteering at these events can still be really fun. Although the slide is divided into after-school and weekends, this is more of a guideline to show which volunteering opportunities is more suitable at these times. In fact, all of these activities can be done at any time as long as you balance your time well. As much as volunteering during the school year seems fun, summertime is the best time to be more involved in volunteering. During the summer, you'll be more available for volunteering, which can lead to your supervisor handing you bigger roles, as well as discovering more opportunities to be involved with projects that you weren't able to do before. Showing your passion and hardworking attitude during this window of opportunity can lead to a great letter of recommendation from your supervisor and also become a once-in-a-lifetime experience that you can talk about in the future. There are many types of volunteering opportunities that you can do. Most people who volunteer in STEM-related opportunities get to usually do it to have more hands-on work experience in a field that they're interested in. This could help them give them a look into the field and later be applied to job resumes in a related field. Those who volunteer in activism, education, or public services related opportunity usually do so to make an impact in your local community. This can help develop a lot of crucial leadership skills that can be applied to club officer or college applications. Finally, one of the most unique type of volunteering you can do during the summer is volunteering abroad. Volunteering abroad gives you not only a chance to make an impact in the global community while being immersed in a field of interest, It can also lead to a discovery of a new culture, place, and most importantly, community. While volunteering abroad can be very expensive, being up to $4,000 to $5,000, it can also be very rewarding. As a travel enthusiast, as myself, I would completely recommend it. Now, the following bullet points under these categories are some examples that I can look into if you're interested. While all of these opportunities do sound exciting, volunteering opportunities have changed slightly due to the circumstances of the present. During regular times, you would usually have more hands-on, more action-oriented projects, more connection with your peers and community due to in-person events, a lot of events, and unfortunately, you would have made more of an impact during regular time. However, during COVID times, events can become easier to attend because you don't have to drive back and forth. You also do more online work involving more planning, and you would also have a more flexible schedule to work around with. You would also get to work with a broader audience and people outside of your local community due to networking and social media. There are some things that still haven't changed despite being COVID or regular. Volunteering in both times can lead to a unique experience, and you will also be able to volunteer in a field that you're still interested in. And no matter what you do when you're volunteering, you're still making a difference. Now, in the current pandemic, volunteering opportunities have become increasingly limited. Well, the following opportunities on this slide are volunteering opportunities that you can still do, with most of them being online. From personal experience, I know that Red Cross offer positions for teens to help out with logging other people's volunteer hours in a spreadsheet remotely, as well as donor ambassador, where you get to help out people sign in at blood drives on site and later offer refreshments while watching donors for any signs of side effects. For more opportunities, you can do your own research at Volunteers Match or search up Citizen Science Opportunities, where you get to help aid in ongoing research projects. Now, while the application process for volunteering organizations can vary from just signing up to a whole month of processing, generally the application process can happen like this. First, you would fill out a form or application that would help provide all your general information, such as your name, address, etc. You most likely would also need your parental permission at times, and at some times, permission from your school. Second, you will have to complete all necessary forms. That may include listing all your vaccines, getting a teacher's recommendation, or filling out an availability form. Third, you will need to attend a volunteer orientation. This will help give you a broad overview and the skills that you need to know in order to help volunteer. While you may not be able to attend a volunteer orientation due to the current pandemic, it may be moved online or to a later date when restrictions are a bit more lax. Just remember to be prepared to bring all the necessary materials that your volunteering organization may ask for. Now, in summary, volunteering is similar to having a job. You have a supervisor that watches over you and guides you, and a set of tasks that you have to complete. On the other hand, volunteering can be more of a direct look into a field you're interested in than a minimum wage job working at a fast food restaurant or working machinery repetitively can. While you won't get any money, you can get service hours that can be applied to any required hour sheets for clubs or schools. In addition, the experience from volunteering doesn't just have to be applied to college apps either. It can help fatten up your job resume too, especially if you've never had a job before. That leadership experience you gain from volunteering will help separate you from other candidates during job interviews and college interviews. If you're interested in wondering what other volunteering opportunities may be near you, Unfortunately, the previous couple of slides only covered general volunteering opportunities. However, to find more local or exclusive volunteering opportunities in your area after COVID, consider checking the College and Career Center at your school every once in a while and keep ears open for more opportunities presented by your teachers. You can also look at the bulletin board in libraries, churches, and community centers for more. In the end, especially if you want to volunteer during this time, do your own research to find volunteering organizations that are most suited for you and your interests. Any questions? Let's see. Are freshmen allowed to volunteer at hospitals? That is a good question. It usually varies in different hospitals. A couple hospitals near where I live don't allow freshmen, but there are some clinics that do allow freshmen to volunteer at, as long as you talk to them. So it's most important to double check with the hospital or clinic near you in order to figure out if you're allowed to volunteer at hospitals. Though during the current pandemic, I'm not very sure if freshmen are still, or any high schoolers in general, are still allowed to volunteer at hospitals. But like I mentioned before, the Red Cross are still accepting applications for donor ambassador, where even freshmen can help hand out refreshments and sign people in at blood drives. Any more questions? I guess not. Well, thank you, Sonia, for bringing up that great question. Now I'll be handing this off to Murtaza.
Hey guys, so the last two sections have been going over volunteering events in and outside of school, and most of those have been very structured. There's a very good idea of what you're supposed to be doing. Now I'm going to be talking about venturing out into the unknown, or leading your own path in terms of volunteering. So when you're thinking of leading your own path, there are two questions you need to ask yourself. One, is there a need in your community that isn't being addressed? And two, what can you do about it? If you have a substantial and concrete answer to both of these questions, then you are in a position to actually start leading your own way. So once you've identified a problem and you know what you can do about it, what can you actually do? Well, I have two recommendations. First is working with an existing nonprofit. In whatever area you live in, there are often a lot of nonprofits either run by adults or some even run by students who may be doing something similar to what you are planning. By gaining leadership in these nonprofits, you'll be getting the opportunities to make the change that you want to see. And because the nonprofits will have a lot of resources, it'll be easier to do so. But my second recommendation happens when, let's say, there aren't enough established organizations in your area for you to work with. You'll have to get creative because you'll have to now be creating your own opportunities to address the problems that you want to see solved. The first tip I'd give you is to work with others, because if you try to do things on your own, it's going to be much harder than if you find other people who are passionate like you and want to do something valuable for the community. And honestly, this doesn't even have to be something in a broad scale organization sense. I know people who have literally started gathering their friends and going to parks just to clean up trash. And while that might not seem like much, it does add to that overall experience, and it does impact your community in a significant way, even if what you're doing is not in a specific structure. Volunteering can come in many different forms and types. You should find what you want to do and what you can do. So of course, when you're starting your own project, there are going to be challenges. The first, of course, is going to be the time. Depending on the size of your project will suck up a lot of time, especially during the school year when you'll have homework and classes and things to worry about. The second major challenge is more of a mental challenge. It's something people don't think about. It's that there isn't really a direction for you to go on. Nobody's telling you what to do. You don't even know if your project is worth it at times. And that kind of leads into the third point, which is that it's easy for your project to fizzle out. If you lose interest, or if any person that's close to you or in that leadership board loses interest as well and your efforts aren't successful, then it's very easy for your project to just kind of just disappear and for your efforts to never come to fruition. But in these kind of circumstances, if you have a drive and if you have a specific problem and an idea that you think might be able to work, don't give up. Even if one attempt fails, keep trying because eventually you'll succeed. And of course, there are benefits. Even though starting your own path is really risky, the rewards are well worth it. First off is a sense of fulfillment and purpose. So this comes to fruition with any sort of volunteering, but when it comes to leading your own path, it magnifies the fulfillment and purpose because now you're leading your own efforts and you're seeing the fruits of your own labor grow into something great. And the second, of course, is college applications. Colleges love to see leadership skills being shown to them in your college app or in your college essay. It's leading your own experience gives great experience for you to write about in a college letter. And the third reason is your resume. So although resumes aren't as important in high school as they are later on in life, your resume can actually help you get jobs and internships much easier, which we'll be talking about next. Because it shows your leadership and organizational experience, and that's something that companies really need. And of course, the final point is that it's more flexible than any other volunteering opportunities because, like I said before, it's what you want to do. And so it's revolving around your schedule, making it much easier for you to fit it in your day-to-day life. Does anyone have any questions?
I actually have a question. I know I think of a lot of times that you present, and I'd like to ask. So are there any particular steps that you should go through to start a service project of your own?
Yeah, of course. Like I mentioned before, the first one you want to worry about is finding other people that are interested in the same thing you are. Because doing something yourself is much more difficult than doing it with other people who might have more experience or have different ideas as to how to go forward. And then, of course, right after you get a group of people who are interested in the same thing you are, now is time to, start thinking about what you're actually going to do, the specifics. Before you start advertising and telling all your friends and telling everyone about this great idea that you have to make sure it's actually fleshed out and something that you can realistically achieve. Once that's gone through, then, the sky's the limit. All right, if there are no other questions, let's move on to the next segment.
Hi guys, my name is Mia, just to reintroduce myself, and I'm going to talk to you today about joining the workforce, or your guide to jobs and internships. So the first big question that I think a lot of you might have is, how do I know if I should apply or get a job or internship? And it really comes down to weighing the pros and cons and how these can support your long-term life goals or even just your goals for high school. So some pros would be monetary experience, like learning how to budget, which you might not get unless you take micro or macroeconomics, neither of which I have taken. It also helps to build time management skills and confidence in going into the workforce, something that you'll do later in life after college. It also builds professionalism because you're interacting with a large demographic of people. Some cons, however, is you'll have less time to work on assignments. This means that you have to be really careful and sure that you can balance your time well. It can also instill negative views about work because most of the jobs that are available are going to be jobs at places such as fast food chains or retail that can be hard. And some internships, though not all, trust me, some internships are wonderful. Some internships can require you to do more grunt work than what you may want to do, or even not allow you to have leadership positions. It can also be difficult, like I said before, to balance work or an internship with schoolwork and extracurriculars. But there are also a lot of gains, so I'd say really consider both ends. Think about why you're getting a job, whether it's money or whether it's experience in a particular field, or maybe you want to save up for college or support your family. Then ask yourself, based on this, can a job or internship help you achieve your long-term goals? If the answer is yes, then I'd say go for it. So there are a lot of similarities and differences between jobs and internships that are important to know before you apply for one or the other. So jobs are usually paid, jobs are always paid, and they often have opportunities for promotions, maybe from employee to manager to even the general manager of a certain branch. However, jobs do have less flexible hours, and because of this time, I feel the need to say they are usually in person. There are also more restrictions on the hours you can work or jobs completed by federal laws put in place for child labor, which is anyone under the age of 18 working. For example, I know that there's only a certain number of hours a week that you can work, and if, for example, you work at McDonald's, then you are not allowed to use the fryer until the age of 16 because it's deemed dangerous. Something similar happens with agricultural jobs, where you can't work agricultural jobs that require heavy lifting, or in some states, agricultural jobs at all until you turn, I believe, 16 or 17, depending on the state. Internships give you field experience with more in-depth projects and a mentor. You will have training in a job, but you won't have someone to guide you every single step of the way. This is where an internship can give you kind of a step up. Internships are usually unpaid, but in some states and in some school systems, school credit can be offered. What this means is that when you work an internship, you coordinate it with the school, so the school will come to visit the internship and review the work that you're doing and give you a grade based on it that will go on your transcript so that colleges can easier see that you've done an internship. Make sure you talk to your guidance counselor or career and technical education counselors about this, because this is not an opportunity that's available in all states or schools. Internships can also be remote or in person and can have more flexible hours. Keep in mind this depends on the internship. Also keep in mind, jobs and internships are really large time commitments, and they usually have prerequisites, whether it's just age or experience in another job or even classes that you might have taken. For example, an internship that might have something to do with politics would have wanted you to take civics and economics or AP US government first. So finding a job or internship, how do you do that? Well, there are really three main ways to go looking. You can use the internet, your network, and or your community. So online or the internet, I'd say go to retail and food websites, or food websites, restaurant websites of places in your area that you know are hiring or that you think might be hiring. There'll usually be something on the page that'll say contact us, or even join the team, things like that, where you can click on and then apply there. There are also job search sites such as My First Paycheck and Snagajob or Indeed.com where you can look to find jobs. Just make sure that you put in all of your information beforehand, because these sites often cater towards people that have graduated high school even as well. So you want to make sure that you put down that you don't have a high school diploma yet, so you don't apply somewhere where you might be rejected just because of that. You can also use your network, which includes your friends, upperclassmen, and counselors. Upperclassmen and your friends especially can be helpful because they know if their place is hiring, and if you know someone who works there, probably give you a little leg up. You can also look at your community, whether it's bulletins in local grocery stores, restaurants, or retail shops, or even going there and asking if they're hiring. I would suggest using all of your resources to look for a job and internship that's good for you. So before you apply, there are a couple things you should make sure of. Make sure that everyone involved is aware and on board. This can include yourself. Obviously, this includes yourself. This can include yourself, the school, and your parents. Your parents do have to sign off on work forms that you will need to work, such as a work permit. And it would also be really hard to work part-time keeping it from them. Also, make a resume. Your resume is basically a little bullet point list or essay that describes yourself and the things that you've done that you think would make you a good candidate for this job. A resume can include anything from the classes you've taken to volunteering that you've done, which looks really great, and any leadership positions that you've had, which look even better. Next is to determine your schedule and see if it fits with the requirements for the job. Some jobs may require you to work a certain number of hours per week, or they may require, like some jobs may require you to work the max amount of hours per week that you can at your age. Make sure that you know how much time it usually takes you to complete assignments and see if this matches up. Remember to get sleep as well. Also, research the workplace. I know I was going to apply for a job company online, and then I learned it was a scam. So don't do that. Don't be me. Definitely make sure that you research the workplace, not only to see if it's a scam or not, but also to make sure that, it's a good fit for you. You want to work somewhere where people will be kind to you and be respectful. So how should you apply? Well, there are really two ways, through a website or in person. Through a website, you're probably going to have to go through a job search engine or the company's website itself. Basically, like you'll see in the bottom left, they'll have like this form with a lot of different options and information for you to type out. It's really the same content as the form that you see on the right, that's just in paper. And in order to get that in person, you would ask for management or customer service, ask if they're hiring, then inquire about an application. You wouldn't fill out the application right there because it would probably require signatures and also require like proof of residency if it's a local area who only want to hire local people per se, or if it's like an age requirement where you might have to photocopy your birth certificate and attach it. So you applied, they liked you, you're probably going to get an interview. Remember, this is not only a chance for the company to learn about you, but for you to learn about the company. And you should ask any questions that you have about the company in this interview. Maybe it's what are the challenges of the job, or what's the work environment like? Trust me, the person who works there will know it best, even better than people who are replying to your emails on a website, or people that have worked the job in the past and posted reviews online. When you get to the interview, remember to be professional. This means to dress nicely, be 10 to 15 minutes early, turn your phone off, and be respectful. Some interviews have prerequisites, such as some jobs may require you to have a work permit when you walk in, and you want to have these ready on paper when you go in. You don't want to have to pull up a picture on your phone and then them ask you to find someone to bring in and then have the interview scheduled for a different time. That doesn't make a very good first impression. Also, always remember to be yourself. So you've been hired. What's next? Your employer will guide you through the following steps before your first day. So some steps may include getting a work permit or contacting your, getting a work permit, which can be anything from like an age requirement to signatures from your parents and your school. If you're looking for job credit or work study credit or internship credit, then contacting your school will be a good first step to go with. In addition, setting up a weekly schedule, just with your employer to know about how many hours you're going to work a week. It will vary week by week. Also, always remember to give yourself an off day. There is a lot of you will usually go through paid or unpaid training or certification as well. Make sure that before you begin working, you review the guidelines for working as a minor at the departmentoflabor.gov/general/topic/youth labor. This will give you all of the laws and regulations and restrictions so that you can make sure your employer follows them because they're in place for your own safety. Just some general internship and job guidelines are to be professional and respectful to everyone you work with. You will work with people from different walks of life than you, people from different schools, people of different ages, but it's important to be professional and respectful at all times, especially, to everyone, but especially to your bosses and superiors as well. I know they may do things that make you mad, but letters of recommendations from them can mean a lot because they worked with you for many hours. Also, be a problem solver and chip in whenever you can. Don't be afraid to learn new things. Oh, sorry about that. Don't be afraid to learn new things. If there's an issue, if you have an issue with someone or an issue with a policy in the workplace, take it up with the general manager or internship coordinator. Don't bring it up to your coworkers unless you absolutely have to. Also, work diligently and efficiently. So, because of COVID-19, changes are being made for the safety of yourself and others while hiring is going on. These may include less hiring opportunities, more sanitation, and less potential hours. Less hiring opportunities and less potential hours are due to the fact that there are less people currently allowed in the stores as employees because they want to have more customers and there's still an occupation limit. But also keep in mind this will not last forever. And while you may not be able to search for a job now because, well, not a lot of places are open, you will be able to search for one later. Any questions? All right, so Sonia has a question, and I'll let one of you guys take that since you covered volunteering.
All right, I guess I'll answer it. So she asked, how many volunteer hours are recommended throughout high school, and when should we start volunteering? So that's a really great question. I'll answer the second part first. So when you want to start volunteering, I'd say you want to start volunteering as soon as possible, because the thing about volunteering is that it doesn't require, a lot of times it doesn't require a lot of prior experience on like an internship or a job. And so if you start like really early on, you end up setting yourself up for success, even like later years of high school. And then how many volunteer hours are recommended? There aren't a lot of like prerequisites in terms of volunteer hours that are like general for schools and like for college applications. Like you can, I know there are some awards that you need to have a certain amount of volunteer hours. Like I think Yin mentioned the PVSA, the Presidential Volunteer Service Award. In order to get that award, you'd have at the minimum, I believe, depending on your age group, I think if you're 14, it's around 80 hours. And if you're like 15, 16, it's like 100 hours at the very minimum. And they're like higher ranks above that. So although that might seem like a lot, you know, it adds up over time, especially if you have a lot of areas in which you're volunteering in. And then, of course, there are some service clubs, like Leah mentioned, that do have volunteer hour requirements, so you need to meet those. So when it comes to the recommended amount, it really depends on what service clubs you're involving yourself in and what you're trying to achieve in terms of awards. Right. Any more questions?
Also, just one quick thing to add on to your answer, Murtaza. Some schools do require a certain number of volunteer hours for graduation, so or they might have like certain honor cords if you do a certain amount. So looking at those as well can be really helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I know private schools, a lot of private schools do that, and some public schools as well. So you'll have to look into that if you don't know about it already. Okay. If there are no more questions, we'll move on. So yeah, thank you. That was the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for joining us today. Please fill out the feedback form that Leah has kindly sent in the chat. It will really help us for any upcoming webinars or videos that we end up making. If you're interested in our mentorship program, you can click on the link, Linktree by Ascent. We'll be posting our slides and posting this video of the webinar on our YouTube channel and our website respectively. And if you have any questions, any further questions for us, just please email us. Feel free to reach out at our email, tutoringbyascent@gmail.com, or DM us on Instagram or Facebook at Ascent Services. Yeah, like I mentioned before, we'll be posting this on our YouTube, and we'll be also posting the slides on our website. Yes, thank you very much, and hopefully please fill out the feedback form so we can know what we can improve on. We'll be sitting here for a few minutes. Oh.
I was about to say that. I was about to say we're going to be sticking around for a little bit to answer any of your guys' pressing questions that you might have, or any new, even if you guys have comments or just thoughts in general. We're here to talk.
And
oh, sorry.
And even if you don't have any comments or questions or anything like that, still please fill out the form in the chat because that will be really helpful to us. And you can even learn even more stuff by giving us more topics to go off of for our next presentation.
Well, do any of you guys want to talk about your opportunities volunteering, since this is what this webinar was about?
Yeah, Mia, you had a lot of good stuff about internships and jobs that I didn't even know. So I was just curious about your experiences working at a job or internship.
Oh, ooh, we're bringing it back to me. Okay. So I myself have not personally worked a job. That's like, well, I've tutored people, but I do that for free. So I haven't worked a job, but I am currently doing an internship with the Donna Reed Foundation for the Performing Arts and the Creative Center for America that I started a couple of months ago. It's a remote internship, so I don't know exactly how in-person internships work, but I can say that my remote internship, you have a really close relationship with the mentor that you're working with, and you probably fill in with them or update with them, or the team that you're working with. I update with the team I'm working with once a week, and they'll probably assign you projects or even parts of projects, like I know for the Donna Reed Foundation. I hope I'm allowed to say this on the internet, but they're planning a lot of stuff for her, I think it's 125th birthday next year, or would be. And they're just planning a lot of different really cool things, and I get to help out by leading some of those projects. And I also get to help out as being a member who helps write descriptions for some of these projects, whether they're videos on YouTube or whatnot. And I'd say you definitely have to find one that works for you. I know I chose the Center for the Performing Arts because I love it, and I love the message that's behind it as well. And so I think it really comes down to finding what's good for you. But yeah, so far it's been a really awesome experience. Also, I know this isn't considered an internship, but working with all of you guys in Ascent has been just a wonderful experience too. So yeah.
Great.
Well, I haven't done any internships, but I did apply for a job, which I can talk about. Unfortunately, because of COVID, my job hasn't started yet. So I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about internships, or not internships, interviews, but so I applied for an interview at Great America. It's an entry-level job, which means you don't really need any experience, whether that be volunteering or anything else. You just really need to be able to talk about how you're going to be able to react to a lot of situations, like what-if situations, such as what if a person walks in and they ask for something that's not in stock, or what if someone doesn't want to get off a ride, what would you do then? So there was a lot of questions like that. There was also questions that asked about your personality or about leadership experience you had, like what is an example of some teamwork you've shown during your school year, or what is an example of where you helped someone achieve something? So questions like that. And I always thought that was useful to pre-think some of these questions out loud and then have a written response already there and just put it next to you, especially during the pandemic. Most of your interviews are going to be online, so it's really helpful when you have your pre-written interview questions next to you, and when they ask something similar, you just look down and you just read off the answer that you've already written down. So that happened. For the more advanced interview jobs, I'm not really sure what happens during those interviews. I think it's more about the requirements and having a resume ready. So for theater, you really need a resume in order to get casted into a role, which is similar to getting a job as this kind of job. So your resume and volunteering will definitely help add experience and show what skills you've developed over the years. And like I said, stand out in all of the candidates. Would Leah or Murtaza like to add on their experiences?
We haven't talked about experiences with service clubs yet, actually, so someone wanted to touch on that. Because I haven't done that.
I can talk more about service clubs, especially maybe gaining a leadership position in a service club, because I think a lot of people want to be an officer for a club, and they think that just having a leadership position in school is just a great thing to have under your belt, especially for college applications. So I think definitely applying as many clubs as you can to be an officer is a great strategy, and a lot of the clubs will have an interview process. So like Yin said, maybe think about questions that they might ask you during that interview, and also maybe writing it down, especially if it is still virtual next year. And just maybe some of the questions are like, in situations, what would you do? Like, it just doesn't just apply to jobs or internships. It can also apply to volunteering and service clubs. So just keep that in mind.
I also want to add on that a lot of the questions for multiple clubs are actually pretty similar, where they ask you about your top 3 personality traits, or what are some weaknesses you have, or what are some leadership experience. So a lot of my friends do this even for college applications, where they already have a separate document and they have everything right there. So all they have to do is just copy and paste whenever they turn in forms or something.
I think it's important when you get those questions, especially, well, not so much the ones that you can prepare for, but the ones that you can't. Like, what would you do in this situation if someone wouldn't get off the ride? Because I don't know what I'd do. I think it's okay to take a moment to think, especially about questions, because you don't want to start and then snowball yourself into a corner or something. It just makes you seem more professional. It's another interview tip, I guess.
So we've talked about service clubs, we talked about jobs, we talked about internships. I guess I was supposed to be talking about volunteering outside of school, but Murtaza can talk about that.
Oh, sure, I guess. Well, in general, my volunteering outside of school has been through nonprofits. I've worked with one student-run one that was in my area. Um, and we ended up organizing different events like park cleanups and like mental health events. And it was honestly a lot of fun. And like just like once I found, because the thing is, a lot of those opportunities, it's really hard to kind of just find them online. You kind of just search up nonprofits I can be a leader in, click, it's really hard to just do it like that. I think one of the most important ways you can get these kind of opportunities is to just talk to people, because I guarantee you there are people in your school, no matter where you go, who are doing something like amazing, and you'll never have known about them, because most of them are just like doing it on their own time or doing it something like on the side, and like you'll have no clue. But once you start talking to them, and then they're more likely to tell you about it, and then that's more likely to get you more experience and give you more opportunities. So yeah, definitely talk to people. Like the way I even found out about the nonprofit was through a friend of mine, and that friend knew another friend who knew a friend, and that's how I got involved. And like that might seem like, wait, that's not going to happen to me, but honestly, it happens more like often than you think. So yeah, just definitely talk to people. Make sure you know as many people as possible, so that like if an opportunity presents itself, you're made aware.
Also, it's good to talk to your teachers and your counselors too, because they'll probably know someone who's talked to them about it as well. And I know especially counselors, because a lot of times they'll approve like time off of school to work with a certain nonprofit, to work with a certain nonprofit, right? So they'll definitely know a lot about that. And it's also good to talk to them in general. They're really amazing people usually, and they can provide some awesome resources for you.
Yeah, for sure.